was a Hail Mary, and the other two were it hit the guy, his receiver's hands, and they popped up and allowed. But he's gonna try to go downfield where Trubisky wasn't for the most part. I think he's gonna get all those guys engaged. I think maybe it takes some time, and maybe he does jumpstart him. And like you said, if it doesn't jumpstart him, like he's probably going to be at least their starter next year. At least gives him time to get experience at the NFL level speed and get used to all the players around him, because they all their spots in terms of wide receivers, tight end with Frymuth, Najee Harris in the backfield. All those guys are incredibly young. Like he's going to grow with them, so it's just better for him to get experience with them to get chemistry.
Well, Lugs, maybe Mitch Trubisky is who we thought he is, and we need to give up on him because, however, the Bears are just as bad, have no offense, new coaching staff, new quarterback, scored no touchdowns. That's it. So I think they're the same team. With Mitch, Fields, doesn't matter.
They're playing by the 1970s playbook. They still think it's the
Paul Dooley playbook. Abe Gibron. Bobby Douglas.
I remember Abe Gibron. I mean, it's like
Bob
sometimes
Avellini.
you got to get some offensive guys for this. I mean, the kid's got nobody to throw to.
There's running back
nobody
Neil
to run
Armstrong.
the ball.
No, their running backs are good. That's like the one part of their team that's actually good. Like Khalil Herbert is talented. Tristan Ebner is talented. David Montgomery, who's injured right now, is talented. To be fair to your point, after that, I don't know what they really got, but
hey, let's do a little.
It's just a waste of another good quarterback for me. It's kind of like they've taken over where Cleveland used to be. Of course, Chicago has never had. I mean, name me one quarterback that Chicago.
Jay Boy, do you want to do him the honors? You'll say probably you want to do it at the same time.
No, you go ahead.
It's Sid Luckman.
Sid
Luckman's their one great quarterback. That's it.
40s,
and
50s.
When he played, he made $5,000 a year and had to be a butcher at the deli there on the north side.
Made the best Polish sausage, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, this episode of Sports and Other Stuff is brought to you by Mucinex, as T-Dog and I struggle through the, I don't know what it is, climate change, nostrilitis, whatever. But all right, Lugs, why don't we do a little sports yesteryear? We'll come back and do a little college football. How's that sound?
Yo.
All right, here comes your big open. It's Sports of Yesteryear with our man, Lugs. He's out and about in his, like a Nova, I think you're driving tonight. Or is it a Maverick? An old Maverick, Ford Maverick, something like that? Go ahead.
Actually, it's a 65 Nomad, my friend. Anyway, 1873, Toronto Argonauts Football Club of the CFL forms as the Argonaut Rowing Club and Rugby Football Squad. It's the oldest existing pro sports team in North America, still using the original name. 1922, writer Grantland Rice does the announcing as the New York Giants and New York Yankees Baseball World Series is broadcast for the first time ever over radio on WJZ. 1959, future Pro Football Hall of Fame running back Jim Brown makes club record 37 rushing attempts as the Cleveland Browns beat the Chicago Cardinals 34-7. 1996, this is for our international folks. Pakistan's all-rounder Shahid Afridi breaks record for fastest 100 in one-day cricket history. He does this by savaging Sri Lanka for 102 that is, with 37 balls. Don't know what any of that means, but love it. Okay, now we're going to finish up big here with a lot of cash. 2003, jockey Jerry Bailey surpasses his own single season record for North American purse earnings with wins aboard Sightseek in the Beldame Stakes and Birdstone in the Champagne Stakes at Belmont Park. Bailey celebrated an unbelievable $20,230,843 in total winnings. Yes, Jerry, buy us a biscuit, my brother. That's it for Sports of Yesteryear.
Okay. Hey, Lugs, with all your travels, did you ever meet Jerry Bailey?
I didn't exactly meet him. We did an interview with him at Churchill once, but I didn't. I was behind the camera. We just kind of wandered up on him after he won one of the the turf race. I forgot on what horse.
What was he, about 6'2", 180?
Yeah, those guys, they're all kind of gnarled up. They all could appear in the next Hobbit movie.
Ooh, okay.
I will just say just one little thing on Jerry Bailey.
Please,
we used to work with a director, MJ.
Yeah.
And he was very good at horse racing. Yep. He loved Jerry Bailey because God knows how much money MJ made off of Jerry Bailey winning races. But he loved Jerry Bailey. He always spoke highly and very an emotional attachment to him. So
all right, we're about 36 minutes after the hour. T-Dog, I got a question for you. Yeah. Wisconsin head coach Paul Chryst gets fired on the way to his car practically after being drubbed by Illinois 34-10. He was there at Wisconsin 8 years. I'm no genius, but I do know this. Very few teams lose to Illinois. He did. He gets fired. That's about the name of that tune.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Illinois this year is, I believe, 4-1. So they are. Right. This is this is second year Brett Bielema. He's done a good job of kind of building them up from the basement that Lovey, one of our favorites, Lovey
Santa Claus.
But I think that was the thing that put it over the top is they were obviously off to a slow start this year, and Bielema, who was one of their former coaches, who, if you look at how Illinois plays, they play like what Wisconsin's identity that was created by Brian Alvarez was this we're going to run on you regardless type of offense, where I believe Wisconsin only had 3 yards rushing in this game, and where it just feels like under Chryst, at least this year and last year, they've kind of lost their identity. And it's still very odd, and it just shows you kind of like what we've talked about before, like obviously this new deal that they have where, they're getting $1 billion, the Big Ten and stuff. It just shows you like how all this added money adds more pressure to, because if you look at his record, it still comes off as odd. I know it's a bad year for him, but I believe in his first 5 years, he had 52 wins or around that. So he's averaging at 10 wins a season. And even last year, where it was a disappointing year, I believe they went 9-4.
Yeah.
So, maybe they're going to go after Leopold, who has Kansas 5-0. You got to give credit to anyone going to Kansas and turning them around,
right?
Because again, I know there's maybe not a team that's going to win the title out of the Big 12. I think there's some really intriguing, solid teams in the Big 12. So it's not like they're not as bad as. And again, the ACC this year is actually pretty solid year too. I'm just using ACC last year as a reference. ACC last year was just bad overall, just in general. Where like I don't think Big 12 this year is, like I said, like ACC 2021 bad. So like I think them winning 5 games is actually pretty impressive. But anyway, going back to your point, I just think Chryst. I just think it's a problem with the circumstances, and this is how it's going to be now.
Yeah, true.
In the SEC and the Big Ten is particularly these larger programs in these two conferences. Either you win at 9 to 10 win game clip a year, or you're out.
In-season firings are going to happen more often. So,
and I think this coming weekend will determine the fate for Scott Satterfield at U of L.
Good point.
And I think it will determine the fate for the coach at Auburn. I think you can see both of those guys being shown the door.
A lot of talk
he's
about
gone anyway.
About Deion Sanders going to Auburn. What do you make of that? So he can be in the Aflac commercial, with your Alabama coach.
Saban.
Yeah. So he and Saban can be buddies for life.
Well, I'll lean on our expert from that area, Lugs. In your opinion, is Auburn – I know that they have a rivalry with Alabama. Is Auburn set up to really have a year in, year out kind of battle to have dominance in the SEC with Alabama?
No, they haven't been for a long, long time. They've lost out on the real recruits. Alabama gets them now. Auburn gets good players. It's just that they don't have the kind of, I mean, Alabama year in, year out, what do they put 6 or 8 people in the pros every year? I mean, these are kids that have been taught since they were in middle school. So Auburn's going to have issues unless they can get themselves a guy who can really recruit. And when you're Nick Saban and you're in that Aflac commercial, the kid may not know much about you, but he's seen you with that duck. So, you know, it's an advantage.
The duck matters.
I think the Deion thing. I think the Deion thing's fascinating. Not to say that they shouldn't want to have Deion. I just think Deion's smart enough. And again, I don't think Auburn's a bad job. I just think
he could do better or be at a place.
I think I would wait for a better job, just considering the situation of the SEC right now. With I don't see Saban going anywhere for a while. You know, I don't actually want to speak on another thing. A guy who's not worried about getting fired, but definitely, you know, the boosters aren't happy about. How about Jimbo Fisher at A&M?
Oh man, this Alabama game coming up, that's going to be a good one. They're going to bust some heads.
Yeah.
It really lost some of its luster when, you know, this last weekend they lost to Mississippi State. So, I mean, and just offensively, you know, which is supposed to be his strong suit offensively. And this goes even back to last year. Offensively, they're just kind of a mess and they're just pretty mediocre, which considering the talent they've recruited, that puts a big kind of black mark on coaching, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What other games did you like, or other? It's about 42
well,
past
I
the hour.
Well, I got to say, shout out to that young receiver at Liberty. I don't know if you saw that highlight, but when I saw the highlight, I thought he was going to knock the ball down. He reaches up, backhands the nose of the football. That's some hand strength, and grabs it in the end zone for the touchdown. If you haven't seen it, go look up Liberty touchdown reception. It's pretty cool. It really is.
I guess the one I want to key on is, you know, it was a hard loss. And again, there's no moral victories, but Kentucky should have beat Ole Miss.
True.
They got unlucky.
Yeah, they gave up the ball just way too much.
They got unlucky. It's not that they didn't play well. They just had untimely I think Will Levis had 2 lost fumbles in that game.
Yeah.
And both at critical times, particularly the one where he threw a touchdown to give them the lead late in the game. And I think it was a formation penalty against them. And then the very next play, he was strip sacked, and they recovered the ball, Ole Miss. So, but it just goes to show you, like we've kind of talked about, like even though it does sting for Kentucky, they've done a good job of developing their program since the very beginning. When, like we said, like the good thing about Kentucky is they were willing to be patient. Those first few years were not great under Stoops, but they stuck with them, and they've developed into a top 10, top 15, pretty much every year top level of a team. So
ranked number 7 before that loss. So
yeah. So the other one I just wanted to kind of bring up is also, you know, going back to the ACC being down last year is Clemson. Clemson is the best kind of I guess program to identify that the ACC. Well, I'm not going to say it's quote unquote back. It's definitely much better than it was last year. It feels like it's kind of night and day in terms of like what Clemson was last year, where even last year, I think they won like 9 games, but still was disappointing. I mean, they've back-to-back weeks. They've beaten Wake Forest and NC State, 2 good, programs. I mean, Wake Forest this week went and beat Florida State, who also finally turned the corner. I might have actually been right on one coach where I put investment in Norvell. It took a few years, but
a little while.
Yeah, a little while. But anyway, the like Clemson is kind of turned it around, and